Hey everybody, you are listening to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. You are here early, so congratulations. And an extra congratulations to JenV. First comment of the day over on Periscope. I think that might be a first. So congratulations, JenV. And just like Dee over on YouTube says, make sure to hit the like button. As the algorithms say, if we get all the likes that come in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the video, go a long way towards making the video more visible via the algorithm. So thank you very much, everybody, and we appreciate you smashing that like button. Now, make sure to grab some beverages. You're going to want to hydrate for this one. A lot of big news. We are veering off the course from the Waccine-centric news today. Still a little bit, so don't worry about it. But thank you very much for being here. Make sure to watch on multiple platforms, including twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio. Okay, let's get going.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is December 14th, 2020. This is episode 276. And today, the great CYBERWAR PSYOP. And I am your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast, where we report the egregious while pointing to Jesus, where we will likely offend you because we can be facetious. Supplement your weekly news digestion with us so you can get a well-rounded, biblically grounded intake of crazy world events. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. All right, it's the beginning of another week, Gonz. Waccine week has wrapped up in the UK, and vaccines are flowing. And I saw a report from a couple days ago that said... well, we know this, actually. The Pfizer vaccine is, as we speak, being loaded up on trucks and shipped around the United States of America. Yep. So watch out, folks.
Somebody was tweeting out with a video, this is the most highly anticipated unboxing video of the year. And it was like a guy unboxing the box of vaccines. And
that's funny.
Yeah.
You know, we covered the story about how this is on par with the moon landing as far as scientific achievement. That type of language has just continued. Everything I hear about is like, this is a historic moment. This is an example of us at our best shipping out this vaccine. So there you go. But before we get into a bunch of stuff, any election up? Well, I guess anything new in your life we need to know.
No, other than I have these nifty drumsticks that are green on the bottom, so they look invisible in my hand.
Oh, that is so cool.
Oh yeah, check that out for people watching.
Cool drumsticks, bro.
I know. I'm gonna bring the microphone drums into the mainstream. I'm gonna hit the microphone.
Gosh.
Oh no!
Oh please! Oh no, please!
Okay, yeah, that's my fun update. What about you? Anything new with you?
That's weird. You know, the gate is blocking it out. I can't
really
hear it when you do that. Yeah, it knows that this isn't supposed to be happening.
All right. Well, good. That's the gate is working. The sound gate is working as it's supposed to.
Yeah. Nothing new here except for I've been procrastinating on solidifying my Christmas plans. Yeah. Well, yeah, certainly life altogether. I feel like 2020 has just been one big procrastination.
Yeah, you better get on it because all the people that ship things, they're all busy shipping vaccines everywhere. They're not going to get to your
somebody's getting something done this year. I just have to keep reminding myself when I feel like I haven't been productive enough this year. I got to remember that we went from doing 1 half-hour show to 3, basically 2 or 3 hour shows a week.
Yeah.
So we've been working hard. I got to remember we're staying busy, not slacking.
Yeah, you should give yourself more credit with doing the show. Go ahead.
And I will give myself more credit just for those who are have been following my. Ever since I inquired about anabolic steroids, I got a lot of good suggestions, and I have officially worked out for 6 of 7 days. So,
wow,
yeah, I'm staying on it. There we go, getting back in January 2020 shape, just in time for the holidays.
Yeah, you got to get that endocrine system in check,
Ooh, endocrine. That's a big word. Okay, that's all I got, though.
Cool. Let's jump into some quick election stuff.
So my question is very direct. Is voting by mail secure? No.
I did notice people sharing this paper around. It was an Allied Security Operations Group, Antrim, Michigan Forensics Report. The client is Bill Bailey, attorney Matthew DePerno. And it was written by Russell James Ramsland Jr., a resident of Dallas County, Texas. He holds an MBA from Harvard University, a political science degree from Duke University. He's worked at NASA, so he's super trustworthy, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And basically, the summary here is that, I'll read the thing here, quote, "Our initial audit of the computer running the Democracy Suite software showed that standard computer security best practices were not applied. These minimum security standards are outlined in 2002 HAVA and FEC voting system standards. It did not even meet the minimum standards required of a government desktop computer." So another just lawyer putting stuff out there, the evidence, the facts.
2020 election? This is about the main election?
Yeah, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just...
makes sense.
Yeah, it says the election data software packages, USB drives, November 2020 election, are secured with BitLocker encryption software, but they were not stored securely on site. At the time of our forensic examination, the election data package files were already moved to an unsecured desktop computer and were residing on an unencrypted hard drive. This demonstrated a significant and fatal error in security and election integrity. And it goes on, and it goes into a lot of details. It's a 23-page document here that outlines all the issues. Antivirus definition is 1,666 days old on December 11th, 2020. Interesting. But there you go. That's some more, I guess, evidence.
Some official. I don't know if that's technically evidence, but at least
it's documentation,
professional documentation about mishandling of votes, which doesn't surprise anybody.
Right, and you want to hear the fringy Q folk and their take on what's happening with the SCOTUS rejecting the lawsuit and all these lawsuits being dropped all over the country.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Okay, so there's a couple things. One is that these judges, especially in the Supreme Court, are being threatened. And that wouldn't be too surprising. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if their families and lives are being threatened. But again, there's no way to verify that one way or the other. And then the other one is that all these judges in these different counties and states are already compromised by China, and so Trump is entrapping them by having them deny the cases on standing instead of the evidence. They're just basically setting up a big arrest. Massive arrest.
That would not be that surprising given the China news that came out the past couple days.
Exactly, and that was a point I was going to make, is that some of the news we cover, tangent to the election stuff, is starting to kind of bleed into each other.
Right.
The CYBERWAR and all that stuff.
I know. And again, I've realized that this, especially the past couple months, I'd say pretty much this whole year, you and I, we've just been shocked that many of the crazy things we talk about and have outright predicted over the past, 8 years or so are straight up becoming reality. And I don't want to, seem like we're taking too much pleasure in that because
No.
we do mention it, but we just have to point out when it, because for the past 8 years, we've made some pretty crazy predictions and followed some pretty crazy categories of world events and future happenings. And the way that they're just all coming together into one big sort of theory of everything is a little spooky. It's a little eerie. It worries me. But so that's why we have to point out whenever we, things sort of congeal into one big worldview verifying, state of the world, I guess.
Called it.
And the thing is, there's a lot of what has happened in the last, especially 4 years, is that the conspiracy theory stuff has gotten really crazy and really wild in the public, not just like on the fringes. It's kind of mainstream, these like really wild conspiracy theory type stuff. Yeah. And it feels like it's because the reality is a little bit more in the middle. It's always, everything's moving at the same rate. And so there's extremes now with the conspiracy theories because the reality is a little bit more closer to the stuff we were talking about before. And we're trying to stay level, but then, most people are ready to go to the deep end on everything. And we're kind of like, okay.
Well, and pair that with the extreme demonization of conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, in the mainstream. It's no surprise that as these things are actually coming into reality, that people who pay attention to them are demonized, just part of the sort of the control mechanisms by those who have so much to lose with these things coming to light. Yeah. I have a quick election thing, very quick. This came across my desk today, and this is from Politico, which is part of the reason I want to bring it up, because very interesting coming from Politico. Usually, as we've seen, and this is just objective analysis, especially this year, there's no news is allowed to come out in any way besmirching the Democrat Party. Right. But this came across Politico.com. Iowa autopsy report, DNC meddling led to caucus debacle. You remember the Iowa caucus debacle?
Yes, I do.
This was quite a while ago now.
It's a while ago.
But at the time, it was big news. Just real quick, Democratic National Committee meddling combined with missteps by the Democratic Party were the primary drivers of the chaos that torpedoed the Iowa caucuses earlier this year, according to a new audit commissioned by the state party. So really interesting. You have the left-leaning outlet reporting from, about the Democratic Party, admitting that the Democratic Party meddled in their own caucuses in ways that caused a huge hubbub. The report, which was distributed to the Iowa Democratic Party State Central Committee at a meeting Saturday morning and obtained by Politico, identified a series of errors made by the DNC, IDP, and the technology company contracted by the state party to build a reporting app to collect caucus results. The February caucuses were overrun by foul-ups. The state party was unable to report a winner, blah, blah, blah. But basically, whoopsies, we admit there was some meddling that happened. And I think the only reason I bring it up is because I think it's interesting precedent setting that indeed the DNC can get in their own way.
Sure. I'm trying to find this other article, and I don't know if it's recent news or not. It's from Oakland County, Michigan, maybe. I think it was Michigan. Michigan State Police arrest celebrated Democratic official on 6 felony charges on election fraud from the elections from 2018. But I don't know if this is recent. It might be older, a few months ago. It's Sharika Hawkins is facing election fraud. And so it seems it's not, obviously the mainstream isn't really carrying the story regardless, which is why I'm kind of like, did this happen now or did this happen a few months ago? But it can happen, but no one's going to know about it, at least in the mainstream. So yeah, I mean, the corruption is real on both sides, but obviously it's going to cater to the stakeholders, in the news agencies and stuff. But as a side note to the whole election thing, I thought it was interesting, and this will come around again as a topic throughout the episode here. But Trump, this is Times of Israel, Trump backtracks on planned early vaccination program for White House officials.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so plans sparked criticism with the U.S. president aides consistently flouting COVID-19 guidelines amid limited supplies of shot. Trump says he'll get inoculation at the appropriate time, which is kind of weird. It's like, he was all boasting about the whole, the greatest breakthrough in science and vaccine. Operation Warp Speed. And now he's like, we're going to wait on the White House officials to get the vax there.
Did we report on the story about the Philadelphia health system not requiring vaccinations?
I don't know. We did so much.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to remember if we actually read it on the show, but yeah, it's along the same lines. If I believe it. Pennsylvania, one of the largest healthcare organizations or systems in the country, 79,000 employees. They decided they're not going to require the COVID vaccine because they're not sure it's safe enough to require. And these are the doctors and the nurses.
Yeah. No, exactly. It's really amazing how the vaccine issue has completely split the country as well. Half the country going, yeah, give it to me now. And the other half going, never, my body, my choice.
Right.
Which is very fascinating. But those topics will come back around, and anytime the election adjacent stuff comes up, we'll tie it in and connect some dots for you. But in the meantime, let's start with with your favorite, Basil, your Flippy update. You ready?
Yeah.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Time for the Flippy update, folks. If you're new to the show, let me just tell you, the Flippy is the colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a proxy conversation to explore how robotics and AI are taking over the world, and there's nothing we can do about it. Today is a little bit different. Been kind of switching up the Flippy updates lately. This one's a little bit more on a positive note, but there's a video I want to play in a second, but some interesting details to point out that kind of show a roadmap to the future of Flippy. Specifically, this is in the context of prosthetics, but the article is titled SoCal Army Captain Among First Amputees to Test a New High-Tech Robotic Prosthetic Hand. And why don't we just play the clip?
Move on.
Flex inside the cuff, and it'll change the grip.
Army Captain Kerry Duvall is helping test a new robotic prosthetic hand that is changing the game for amputees across the world.
Big hook here is a gesture control where I can literally just flex inside the cuff and it automatically changes the setup of the hand to a different grip.
Captain Duvall lost his hand in an IED attack in Afghanistan 6 years ago.
I knew right away that my hand wasn't coming back. It was pretty jacked up.
After little to no success with previous prosthetics, he eventually discovered Westlake Village interface company Biodesigns. Their prosthetic allowed him to return to weightlifting, CrossFit, and yoga, and even allowed him to return to his job in the infantry, becoming the only amputee to get through Special Forces assessment selection.
I went from having an extremely atrophied right arm to actually getting volume and mass back.
Ultimately, that's our goal is you get on with your life. You don't even think about what you're wearing. It's part of you.
Biodesign CEO Randall Alley is now proud to help take it to the next level, becoming the first facility in the country to test their interface with a new robotic hand made by a company called Brain Robotics.
Instead of thinking I'm going to use my muscles a certain way, he just thinks of the grip he's going to use. And goes right to it because the pattern recognition recognizes that pattern after being calibrated and trained.
Technology that's giving hope to people who feel they can't move on.
The fact that stuff continues to evolve is really going to help out not just other hand amputees, but people with different levels of amputation and different injuries.
Brain Robotics is waiting for FDA approval for the hand. The company hopes to launch the product early next year. Tony Cabrera, ABC 7.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
Yeah, this was interesting. A couple things to note. First of all, it's a fully robotic prosthetic, which is, kind of like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker's hand. when he lost it to his father's lightsaber, which is kind of a first as far as one that is actually viable to use, which does include, per our conversation last episode, elements of machine learning attached to it to help you sort of, it can only feel little flexes in your forearm muscle, and then gets trained to make different movements based on that, based on machine learning, things like that. I thought it was also very interesting that he got the prosthetic and went on to pass the Special Forces selection assessment, which is a pretty big deal. I mean, it was good enough that he could at least pass the test to go into the Special Forces after his amputation, which I have not heard of that happening very often. One fun little detail, Gons. Looking at the Wikipedia for the United States Army Special Forces Selection and Training, which is this assessment test, and it says here the Special Forces Qualification Course, or informally the Q course. Ooh. Is the initial formal training program for entry into the United States Army Special Forces. So happy this guy's getting his life back. He's continuing his military career instead of having to, figure something else out, which is kind of cool. Call of Duty, some of the newer Call of Duties have included robotic body parts. So it's very interesting to see. Call of Duty is a video game, for those who don't know, a video game franchise. And so it's interesting, again, seeing these formerly sort of fictitious situations coming to real life here.
Yeah, and it's paralleling the science fiction and video games almost in tangent. Before it was kind of
tandem.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say tangent? I meant tandem, yes. But yeah, formerly it was science fiction, and then us sitting around going, oh, it would never happen, and sipping on our hot cocoa or something. But now they're like, it's real, and the guy's going to use his robotic arm to drink his hot cocoa. So, yeah, progress, I guess.
Yes, and I'm seeing
progress before it is too late.
I'm seeing a lot of people pointing out some flaws in the possibility of this guy being in the field, magnetic pulses or sand getting in the gears and stuff. And I don't know. Maybe they took precautions. Who knows? Maybe he'll have a special military grade Faraday caged version that EMPs will not affect.
Yeah, like a Faraday glove or Faraday bodysuit.
Yeah, it wouldn't be hard to protect it.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. Just thought it'd be nice to have a little bit of a positive note on the Flippy. Again, I usually try to avoid the straight up medical uses, but I'm always glad to see our military men and women improving their lives. I do want to say real quick, now that we're into the show, if you're watching over on YouTube on the Face Like the Sun channel or the Canary Cry radio channel, please hit that like button. We are still within the time frame where those likes go a really long way to making the video visible, especially people who might be able to catch it live. So do your part to spread the word by smashing the like button. I had one more thing to mention, but I forgot it. So let's move on.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
33, the Illuminati dog whistle, NewYorkPost.com. 33 arrested, 4 stabbed during MAGA march in D.C.
Oh, yikes.
As cops. Yeah, did you see the whole MAGA march this weekend?
I don't look at the news on the weekend.
Yeah, it was pretty big. There was a lot of people there. And, the one thing that I thought was very interesting, and I think the No Agenda show played some clips from it, but Alex Jones got out there and started, doing his little speech thing. But I thought it was very interesting because he really did pander to Christians. He was talking about God and Jesus and stuff. And it was like,
yeah, he also spoke at the Jericho conference.
Oh, I think that might've been it. That might've been
okay.
Yeah. So I think this is, was the Jericho thing different? Was it,
I don't know.
I thought it was the same weekend.
not super familiar. I think it was the same weekend. I don't know if it was the same event.
Yeah, but anyway, 33 there. Of course, 33 arrested. Just so happens.
Got to get the number right. Now I'm looking at this picture on the New York Post.
Which one?
Oh, interesting. The first picture is a bunch of "Don't Tread on Me" guys.
With the yellow and black.
Yellow. Yeah, it's yellow and black, and that. But now I look at the other pictures, and yes, indeed, a Trump MAGA march. But I was thinking, it was weird that they're going a long way to make a first impression that these. Don't tread on me people are specifically MAGA people, which is not appreciating the subtleties of different conservative thought.
Yeah. And the one criticism of Alex Jones, obviously, is that he's an owned operative at this point.
Of course.
And that he's complicit with the Mossad and the Zionist forces.
Is this all confirmed, or is this theories?
I mean, there's some.
I mean, of course, I've heard all the theories, but there's always possible that that's a psyop to discredit him to the fringy people.
Sure. I mean, here's what I think, and this is just my opinion. I think he's like a true red-blooded American, but I think he has, whether knowingly or not, because he's become such a popular figure. I do think he was put into compromising situations. Again, whether he knew it or not, with certain institutions, so to speak, because of if you go through his history, there's a case that can be made that he never actually talks about the Mossad. He'll mention the Mossad, but when it comes to criticism of
but
the
he
Mossad
never says
stuff,
anything against it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
even with Epstein, he didn't go into the Mossad Epstein.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He will kind of now mention it. But he's very careful about offending the Jews, quote unquote, So it's a very interesting thing. If you start digging into it, go down that rabbit trail, there's a lot of omission when it comes to that topic of the Zionists in particular. So, just something to keep in mind there. He was definitely instrumental in me learning about stuff early on. I wasn't like a big Alex Jones guy, but I was interested in the stuff he was talking about.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
There's just sort of the conflict between his deplatforming and connections.
Yeah, well, that's part of it. I think that's it's almost like cutting off your own as sort of a way to create.
Okay, I see legitimacy.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
So this is another 33 update. It's kind of semi 33 though, but it's all kind of connected. The way we were just talking about Israel was a big setup for this one. The apac.org.app.box.com. Yeah, that's an interesting link there. But anyway, this is a press release. Congress adopts defense bill with major pro-Israel provisions. So while everyone's talking about the elections and all this stuff, AIPAC passes this bill. And this is the bill includes United States-Israel Security Assistance Authorization Act of 2020. And in the pact here it says, the bill, it says, importantly, the measure includes the U.S.-Israel Security Assistance Authorization Act. This legislation authorizes $3.3 billion in annual U.S. security assistance to Israel through fiscal year 2028, as called for in 2016 U.S.-Israel Memorandum of Understanding on Security Assistance. And, of course, 33 billion would be a little too much. They went with the 3.3 billion. I thought it was a very subtle way to signal to the elite that, hey, we're part of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got, this is part of the criticism of, at least in America, the not the infiltration, but the partnership with Israel. There's a lot of evangelical Christians that say, like, hey, they're the chosen people. We need to defend them. They're the only democratic, land in the Middle East, and we have to protect their rights and all this stuff. But the critique comes from not just, just anti-evangelicals or anything like that. People that are basically looking at the economics of it all, look at it and say, why are we giving them more money than our own country that needs all kinds of stuff? Sure. We got streets falling apart. We got all kinds of stuff that needs help infrastructure-wise, but we're sending, millions, billions of dollars and our guns to Israel. And that's a legit criticism. You don't have to be anti-Semitic to have
Well,
that.
it's the same. It's the same criticism against a lot of things that the United States is spending money on.
Right, exactly. But I just thought
That's
it was
the
interesting.
military-industrial complex for you.
There you go. Bingo. Okay, moving on here. We have another quick one.
Artificial intelligence.
This is SciTechDaily.com. Artificial intelligence discovers surprising patterns in Earth's biological mass extinctions. Ooh. And there's a chart here for those of you watching. They basically, plugged in the AI to the evolutionary tree and the mass extinction events, and they verified this idea that we are entering a sixth mass extinction.
Yeah, that's been floating around here for a little bit.
I know, but the AI said it. It's true.
Well, if the AI says it.
Yeah,
that's funny. Well, the funny thing there is, human analysts and scientists around the world have been talking about the idea that we're moving into the sixth mass extinction for a while. And it's funny when you talk about artificial intelligence and, does it really know anything that we don't already know? I mean, this is a news story because AI said it, even though humans have been saying it for a while. Not necessarily that I take it as gospel, but it's very interesting how it has more legitimacy now that the robot brain came up with it.
Yeah, it's the whole garbage in, garbage out when it comes to data analysis with AI and machine learning.
Right.
And basically, they basically outlined how, I think they said 70% or maybe more of life forms on Earth have all gone extinct. And so,
forever?
Yeah, they talk about the billions and billions of years of life on this planet.
Well, that's what happens. Things die. A fun little fact that I learned recently, and I don't know if it's very important or not, but I guess 80% or some humongous number of dinosaurs were the size of chickens. Like, we have this idea that dinosaurs are all these humongous things. And apparently there's more evidence to show that dinosaurs mostly were little tiny chicken-sized lizards rather than, giant thunder lizards. And, of course, we all know they had feathers, so.
Somebody time traveled.
Chickens. They're just digging up a bunch of chickens.
Yeah, I want to see that time travel movie, They're going back in time to the dinosaur age, and then they step out and little chicken lizards running around.
The Jurassic Park is actually a petting zoo.
This next one is very, very, very interesting.
Space Pope Reptilian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this is AmericaMagazine.org. Why is Darth Vader in the Vatican's nativity scene? Did you hear about this, Basil?
No.
No? Oh, my goodness.
Why is Darth Vader there?
The Vatican unveiled its official nativity scene in St. Peter's Square on Friday evening, surprising some with its depiction of an astronaut and another figure wearing a Darth Vader-esque helmet coming to adore the Christ child.
This is at the Vatican, the official nativity scene.
Yeah, this is serious stuff, man.
Oh my gosh!
The nativity set was made between 1965 and 75 as part of a 54 statue collection created by students. Blah blah blah. Contemporary cultural figures like this year's astronaut have often been included in the Vatican's nativity scenes, which have been displayed in St. Peter's Square each year since 1982. This is not the first time one has raised eyebrows. In 2017, a set included a nude male figure meant to represent clothing the naked, a work of mercy. Because of the terracotta figure's sculpted muscles and glazed finish, some compared it to a Ken doll. Art historian Elizabeth Lev has lived in Rome for more than 20 years. She said that there is a tradition in Italy of rushing to see new work of art and giving an opinion on it, as happened on Twitter yesterday. For her part, Miss Lev tweeted a photo of the astronaut and Darth Vader character with the caption, "So the Vatican precept has been unveiled. Turns out 2020 could get worse." Precept is the Italian term for a nativity scene, and it comes from the Latin word for manger. And the picture there is very interesting. I will say, let me get a closer look. I think there's another. Yeah, so this is
this is designed by children? Is that what I'm getting? I see a chicken there as an homage to the dinosaurs.
Dinosaur chickens. Here, let me get to let's see. It's blah 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 blah. You know what? I didn't have a highlighted section here. This is a quote from the lady. The problem is there's a universal outpouring of mockery. They're making fun of the Holy Family. People are vying with each other to come up with a funnier name, Miss Lev said, admitting she also had made jokes about the scene. Quote, the Catholic Church has an incredible tradition of beauty, and yet, after a year of difficulty, we've put up something that makes people mock Jesus. And yeah, I would have to somewhat agree with that. And here's the really interesting thing about this is that yes, it's creepy. It's got the strange thing going on there. But there's part of it that reminds me of the Djed. Do you know about the Djed?
No.
You don't know about the Djed. Okay.
Remind me.
Okay, the Djed. Oh my gosh, my browser is frozen. That's not good. Uh-oh. Hello, browser. There we go. I'm sorry, not the Djed. The Djed. The Djed. D-J-E-D. Okay, come on, computer. There you go. The Djed is an ancient Egyptian pillar. It's a symbol commonly found in the Egyptian religions. It's associated with the creator god Ptah and Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, the underworld, and the dead. It is commonly understood to represent his spine. And if you look at the Djed, it looks like a lightsaber. Like literally looks exactly like a lightsaber.
Okay.
And what is going on? How come my browser is not working? Clicking. This is no good. If you look at one of the images that has the depiction
it looks like the hilt of a lightsaber.
Right. But the whole thing, the handle and the whole deal. So just kind of interesting, something to think about, because
well, that makes sense. I mean, George Lucas famously based the Jedi religion on a bunch of Eastern things. So that would make sense that its sort of main symbol would be derivative of that kind.
Right. And the fact that it's part of the nativity scene is sort of a mocking of Jesus.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. And
is the astronaut supposed to be Jesus? Who is this astronaut supposed to be?
I don't know. I'm just looking at this thing.
I'm trying to find the connection, like the reference to a classic nativity scene, and I just don't see it. Like if I saw this out in the wild, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, it's a weird nativity scene."
You wouldn't necessarily think Star Wars.
Well, I might think Star Wars, but I would not make the connection to nativity. In these pictures, I'm not seeing like a baby Jesus or anything.
Yeah, it's
like it's a bunch of farm animals and an astronaut.
Yeah, there's one here. There's another picture that shows more of the Djed, and then there's a child in that one. So I think that's kind of, and they're wrapped up and they have the little spiral thing. But anyway,
they just keep getting creative.
And just kind of weird and suspicious, to say the least.
Okay.
Yeah. And just to connect linguistically to the Djed is this story here, real briefly. Bloomberg: blast at Saudi port hits oil tanker as Red Sea attacks mount. Fuel ship targeted in terrorist attack, says Saudi officials. Incident comes as tension between Saudi Arabia and Iran rises. This will come, be more important as we talk about the cyber thing. The ship was hit by an explosion at the Saudi Arabian port of Jeddah as attacks in the Red Sea mount. So I don't know. There's just some weird things going on there with all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. You don't want your oil tankers to be crashing into each other.
Yeah, definitely not. And then just got one quick thing here. As is a sort of
this is deep
type of situation, and that is, oh my gosh, what is up with the browser? I'm sorry, everybody. I keep complaining about the browser, but it's because I'm clicking on tabs and nothing is happening. It's a really
You
really
got
bad
something
situation.
running, something intense? You have like some Java running somewhere slowing you down?
I don't know. But this is you had one job on Twitter. Have you seen this picture? She has escaped. And those of you watching on screen can take a look at the
Mona Lisa.
Mona Lisa has escaped. And this, part of this is it's obviously a joke, but at the same time, it sort of speaks to this idea of these ideas and concepts of the meta
art
or
becoming reality.
Yeah, art coming into reality, or whatever other types of conceptual things that are out there walking into our 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional reality.
Some interesting sort of occult ideas that as imagined can be manifested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh. So there you go. Those are my updates.
Very good updates.
Seem to be having some connection issues.
Yes, there's lots of. Oh, you sound good to me. I don't know about connection issues.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's keep moving.
Should I get into some cyber war?
Let's do it here.
Cyber weapons have already gone on the offensive.
That's right. They've already gone on the offensive, folks, and there's a lot of cyber war news brewing. Well, a lot of war news brewing, but let's start off with some of this. This is from thenews.com.pk. What's PK? Is this supposed to be Pakistan?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. EU Disinfo Lab exposed India's cyber war. Pakistan on Thursday, while strongly condemning India's reprehensible tactics, said the publication of a report by EU Disinfo Lab only substantiated Pakistan's position in front of the international community. Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry, at a weekly press briefing here at Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said India's attempts to malign Pakistan had once again been exposed as the report revealed a vast network of fake media outlets, think tanks, and NGOs serving Indian interests. The EU Disinfo Lab recently issued its latest report titled Indian Chronicles, Subsequent Investigation Deep Dive into a 15-year operation targeting the EU and UN to serve Indian interests. The report is a follow-up of the Disinfo Lab's 2019 report titled Influencing Policymakers with Fake Media Outlets, an investigation into pro-Indian influence network. The spokesperson mentioned that the report had previously uncovered the Indian propaganda body carrying out anti-Pakistan activities and cyber warfare against Pakistan, led by the Srivastava Group of India and propagated by the Indian news agency ANI since 2015. Quote, India not only spread disinformation, but abused international institutions in its desire to malign Pakistan, he said. Chaudhry said the Indian actors carrying out the latest malicious operations resurrected more than 10 defunct Human Rights Council accredited NGOs, registered with the names of deceased analysts and experts. Also, India created hundreds of fake journalists' identities, generated more than 750 media outlets, and registered more than 550 fake domain names. What is a fake domain name? There's no such thing as a fake domain name. It's just a domain name. He added, the Indian news agency ANI repackaged and amplified the malicious content produced in Brussels and Geneva. He said, quote, the government of Pakistan views these mischievous activities of launching unsubstantiated propaganda as part of India's preoccupation with maligning Pakistan, he said. Chaudhry said Pakistan had already put forth irrefutable evidence extensively documenting India's active planning, promoting, aiding, abetting, financing, and executing terrorist activities in Pakistan. He urged India to, quote, eschew the use of false propaganda as an instrument of state policy. Why? Everybody does it. Such Indian ploys of spreading misinformation are doomed to fail, he added. Apparently not. The spokesperson said by spreading such falsehoods, India could neither cast a shadow on the international stature of Pakistan, nor can divert the attention of the international community away from India's horrendous human rights record. Quote, instead of wasting more time in peddling falsehoods and fake news, India would be well advised to put its house in order, he said. The spokesperson said Pakistan strongly condemned the arrests of Muslim youths in India under the newly promulgated discriminatory and inhuman law, which penalizes members of religious minorities to marry as per their own free will. Quote, this law is further manifestation of the mindset of Hindu supremacist RSS BJP regime, which takes pride in degrading and humiliating minorities, particularly Muslims in India, he said. He added that Pakistan called upon the international community to take note of such steps by the RSS BJP regime, which were fueled by its hatred of the minority communities. He said rather than giving in to the fantasy-driven love jihad allegations of its fanatic cadres, the current regime should ensure protection of fundamental human rights of all of its citizens, irrespective of their religious affiliations. And the article goes on. I don't know if you saw something that.
No, I didn't. I actually didn't even intend you to read the whole thing here. I wanted to.
Well, it's interesting because as we move into the state of the world in which we are in, the United States and Trump are not the only ones sort of being accused of creating fake news. India, what's his name? Modi?
Yep.
Yes, he's kind of considered the Indian Trump. At least that's the sort of connections that the American mainstream likes to draw. And so it's interesting how, well, first of all, India has a lot of conflict with a lot of their neighbors.
Yes.
Pakistan being one big one, and as we'll hear later, China as well. So, it's not really that surprising to hear that perhaps they have been running such a large disinfo campaign. But I thought it was interesting, the NGO, the non-governmental organizations, these sort of, nonprofits that will work in various industries of charity or negotiations or relief or humanitarianism or whatever. Famously, the White Helmets being a pretty suspect NGO in the past couple of years, taking part in the Arab Spring and playing a big role in I believe, the Syrian conflicts and things like that. These sort of fake or not as described NGOs seems to be a pretty big operating, like I don't know what to call it, tactic or something in the Middle East / Asia there. So I don't know. I just thought it was very interesting. The information warfare going international like this to help out with the sort of international relations of not just the U.S. and its many friends and non-friends, but India having similar problems.
Yeah, and India has that Aadhaar system, the biometric identification system that they implemented a couple of years ago, and they also they basically got rid of cash in the process.
Yeah, right.
And so there's a lot of things they're doing that's kind of troubling just to begin with, but it's interesting how they're trying to take out or at least confuse the people in the EU and the UN as sort of it's kind of hard. It's hard to take sides with anybody with this type of thing because everybody's doing something that's not cool. And then the disinfo is kind of on the surface, like, hey, they're just trying to protect their own sort of way of life or change their way of life or something. But then when it comes to propaganda, it's all fake. You're putting out fake information to misdirect sentiments towards India or Pakistan or whoever. It's a very confusing matter. And that's sort of the big theme here with the cyber warfare in general, it's very confusing because misinformation and misdirection is like the primary method. And so people will run with a headline or a story or whatever, but that itself can be, a misdirection of a misdirection.
Yeah,
or,
because it's interesting. They're talking about they had over 750 quote unquote fake media outlets,
right?
And it's one of those things where if you put out a story, if one weird media outlet has something, you don't really think about it. But if it's showing up everywhere across 750 media outlets, people sort of automatically take it as truth, which of course is something that we deal with over here in the U.S.
Yes.
Just a breeze. Oh, I'm sorry. You had something else?
Oh no, I was going to go to the next one here, but I only have the headline. I can't get in because I have a.
You got to subscribe.
Yeah,
that's okay. I think just headlines will get us through the next couple things here.
Yeah. So this is the telegraph.co.uk. Britain's new cyber hacker cell limbers up as gloves come off in global cyber war.
Right.
And what's the subheading there? Do you have that there? The UK's new national cyber force could be used to launch hacking campaigns against other countries. The pop-up came up, so I can't finish reading it. But basically.
So basically what it is, they have their new they basically have a cyber war
department.
Yeah, I don't think it's technically a division of the military. It might be. I don't know. I need to look into it further. But yeah, so they're gearing up to go full cyber war as well. Which is, of course, they've already been doing.
That's what I was going to say.
But to have it come out as like a publicly announced thing is a pretty big deal.
That's another talking point or an angle with all of this, is that the cyber warfare has been fairly covert between nations and mostly between nations. But now that it's becoming public, the only reason why it's becoming public is, number one, it's happening more rapidly and more intensely, and it's really affecting, infrastructure more. But also, you need the political support of people to enact certain offensive things. And so to make it public, to create these institutions, or at least a cyber hacker cell or whatever it is to garner public support for defense with any nation.
And that's the interesting thing with this disinformation warfare and a lot of cyber warfare in general is normally, according to international laws and agreements, warfare is military versus military.
Right.
Civilians are not supposed to be brought into war for the most part. They're not supposed to, although of course they do. But with disinfo and cyber warfare, oftentimes civilian public, and often the civilian public of your own country, are specifically the targets of your cyber warfare. So it's kind of this new, not new that it hasn't happened before, but now that it's coming public, people aren't really realizing that this is not necessarily something the public should get behind just on philosophical terms without laying down some ground rules, because when a country is carrying out disinfo or cyber warfare, it's usually directly targeting civilians of their own country or a neighboring country or an enemy country, adversary, whatever you want to do.
And it's really fascinating to tie it to scripture. Matthew 24:6 and Mark 13:7. It talks about Jesus mentioning wars and rumors of wars. And people have talked about, that's been going on forever. True. Yeah. But when you talk about cyber warfare, the idea of rumors of wars is like, it's so applicable. It's like, man.
Well, Jesus that's the crazy thing. I always kind of thought of, when you hear that verse, you're like, wars, ooh, bad. Rumors of wars. I guess bad, but I mean, they're just rumors.
Just rumors,
not as bad as actual war.
Yeah.
But very apt connection to make where, rumors of wars is actually pretty devastating when you think about it on a full scale disinfo warfare type of operation.
Right.
For the first time, that every piece of that verse does seem much more
applicable,
vital, and applicable. Now, I think it was last episode or the episode before, I gave a little rundown of an old interesting cyber warfare story, Stuxnet. And this kind of connects to Stuxnet, so I just wanted to mention it. ZeroHedge.com, massive cyber attack on 40 Israeli firms believed to be Iran's revenge for assassination. Woo! Just to read a couple things here. Iran has repeatedly vowed revenge against those behind assassination of its top nuclear scientist, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh.
Oh, you said a bad word.
Outside Tehran on November 27th, Tehran has blamed Israel for carrying out the high-tech hit, which appears to have involved one or more remote guns activated via satellite targeting, which was a crazy story. Yeah, it was like a car-mounted, remote-controlled machine gun that took out this nuclear scientist. And Iran's nuclear program famously being targeted by CIA cyber warfare named Stuxnet, and Israel being blamed for this assassination of an Iranian nuclear scientist does show an interesting connection, which shouldn't surprise anybody, but some interoperations between Israeli and U.S. Intelligence agencies, continuing to try to keep Iran from developing nuclear power and nuclear weapons.
On that point, I was dabbling in some Ben Shapiro.
Oh boy!
And I was
the
listening.
Old fast talker.
The old fast talker, and I was listening to him report on this story about the Iranian nuclear physicist guy who's trying to develop, nuclear weapons for Iran, and he was killed and all that. Mm-hmm. And the way he justified it, I was like, whoa, man. I mean, I wish I had a clip of it, but he was just basically like, if it's the death of a guy who blah, 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 if it's okay to kill him. Basically, it was like, whoa, dude, that is crazy. Yeah. And I know he's he's a Jewish descent, so he's, very much part of the Israeli side of things, and he's not shy about it. He's not hiding it or anything. So it's, it's not surprising that it's coming from him, but it's just the way he framed it was like, oh yeah, just of course, kill him, kill the guy. We don't want nuclear war. We don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. He should die.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, man. Wow.
Yeah. And it's very interesting because, of course, Iran having any nuclear capabilities is of note for the surrounding region. But of course, Iran puts it in the context of, they want nuclear energy for their energy economy and things like that to help them move into, the next stage of 21st century life. But of course, we know that nuclear weapons are come alongside that. So, and that certainly would concern Israel as far as their relationship. So there you go. And that's kind of connected to the Stuxnet rundown that I gave in the past couple episodes. So cyber war really cranking up lately. And it's not just the Middle East. Just to go back to India, having issues with Pakistan, they're having issues all over the place. Producer Charlie sent us a story, which I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but wanted to mention. The China-India border has always been contentious and has been ramping up lately. This was from about a month ago, but over here on metro.co.uk, headline, China cooked Indian soldiers alive with secret microwave pulse weapon. Talking about directed energy weapons here is no longer just the realm of fringy conspiracy theories. Just a brief rundown. Chinese soldiers managed to repel a band of Indian troops during a border standoff in the Himalayas by turning the occupied hilltops into a microwave oven, a scientist in Beijing has claimed. And there you go. I don't need to read through the whole thing, but they've got these mobile microwave directed energy weapons, and you don't hear about them being used very often. in conflicts around the world. But it seemed that this Chinese scientist was very proud of the fact that they were able to pull this off.
Yeah, and if you look at Matthew 24, if you go to that next verse there that we were talking about, verse 7, it's basically nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. And again, it's one of those situations where you brought up the energy weapons here and all that. But if they have the ability for secret microwave pulse weapons, what kind of weather warfare is going on as well? The same type of, at scale, larger scale, the HARP type stuff.
Yeah.
The famines that are created, the earthquakes that are created. It's just, again, it's weird how in our 2020, moving into 2021, we read a verse from over 2,000 years ago, and we're like, yeah, totally. Like way more applicable now in like such an interesting way than it was even back then when Jesus said it. And he was talking about the end times. So there you go. We seem to be approaching those times quickly. But
noted here in the article, the Times reports this incident potentially being the first use of microwave weapons against hostile troops following their earlier use to destroy electronics and missile guidance systems or harm humans.
The first time, except not the first time at all.
Yeah, well, there might have been testing, or knowing China, they might have been using it on some of their minority populations or something. But yeah, first military use of these microwave weapons. A little bit concerning.
Yep, and this brings us into one of the main stories for the day.
Welcome to Chinese News!
This is the NewYorkPost.com. U.S. companies riddled with members of Chinese Communist Party. Divine. Or Divine? I don't know. As we try to come to terms with the extent of Chinese influence over the Biden family, a leaked database of registered members of the Chinese Communist Party has exposed the mass infiltration of American companies with serious national security implications. Boeing, Qualcomm, and Pfizer are just 3 U.S. companies that have employed dozens of CCP members in their Chinese facilities, the database reveals. As well, 3 female employees of the U.S. consulate in Shanghai have been identified in the list of 1.95 million party members that was leaked in an international group of legislators, the Interparliamentary Alliance of China, which includes Senator Marco Rubio and Bob Menendez. All CCP members swear an oath to, quote, fight for communism throughout my life, be ready at all times to sacrifice my all for the party and the people, and never betray the party and guard party secrets. Be loyal to the party. Senator Josh Hawley, a member of the Homeland Security Committee, said yesterday, quote, CCP agents have no place in U.S. government facilities, and this report should serve as a much-needed wake-up call to Washington, D.C. and corporate executives who continue to welcome the Chinese government with open arms. A continued quote here, it is just more evidence of the extent to which the CCP has successfully infiltrated American companies and government. While none of the people listed on the database have been identified as spies, mounting concerns in the State Department about the CCP have resulted in tightening visa rules for its members earlier this month. CCP members and their immediate families now are limited to 1-month single-entry U.S. permits. The database was verified by international cybersecurity firm Internet 2.0, which found it was originally leaked on encrypted messaging app Telegram in 2016. It was passed on to IPAC 6 weeks ago by a third party. Quote, we have high confidence this list is authentic, Internet 2.0 co-founder David Robinson, a former Australian Army intelligence officer, told me Sunday. Quote, someone, an insider, a dissident, managed to get physical access to the server in Shanghai from outside the building. They didn't have to hack it over the internet. Each data entry contained the CCP member's name, ethnicity, place of birth, education level, identification number, and in some cases the phone number and address. Robinson has verified the identity of 3 women who work at the U.S. consulate in Shanghai. The 3 all listed as ethnic Han college graduates are registered in a 31-strong Communist Party branch listed as Shanghai Foreign Institute Service Company, which is a state-owned employment agency which provides local staff for foreign consulates, schools, and news media. A department spokesperson yesterday had no comment about, quote, an alleged leaked database of Communist Party members and said, quote, the department does not discuss security protocols to personnel matters. However, she said, quote, influence and interference operations are fundamental to how the Chinese Communist Party engages with the world. China's role in the world today cannot be understood without reference to the wide array of malign activities that the CCP undertakes to influence our societies in ways that are covert, coercive, and corrupting. The CCP database is split into 79,000 branches. For example, Boeing has 17 branches, totaling 252 CCP members. 16 members are part of Boeing's Hongqiao Maintenance Base Boeing Line Maintenance Division, First Workshop Party Branch. 22 are in the Second Workshop Party Branch. 13 are in the Third Workshop Party Branch. 14 in the Fourth Workshop Party Branch. There are 4 subdivisions of the Pudong Maintenance Base Boeing Line Maintenance Branch, totaling 49 members. 2 branches of the Pudong Maintenance Base Boeing Line Maintenance Branch Cargo Aircraft Line Maintenance, total 33 members. Also listed are 27 members of the party branch of Boeing, fourth, blah, blah, blah. There's a few other things here. Boeing spokesman Bradley Akuburio said last night the company was satisfied with its security. Quote, as a global company, we enforce strict security protocols and maintain secure firewalls to protect both our customer and company proprietary data in all countries we operate in. According to the database, 96 members of the Qualcomm Wireless Communication Technology China Company Ltd. Party branch and 133 side thing. Additional members spread over 6 party branches of Qualcomm Enterprise Management, Shanghai Work, 4 semiconductor manufacturer, and 5G wireless technology company Qualcomm, a U.S.-based multinational. Qualcomm was awarded a contract by the Department of Defense in 2018 to develop multi-factor authentication security systems for U.S. military computers. Another U.S. company crucial to national security is pharmaceutical giant Pfizer, which began rolling out COVID-19 vaccines Sunday. The database lists 69 CCP members in 4 Pfizer branches in Shanghai. Neither Qualcomm nor Pfizer responded to inquiries yesterday. New York University also appears with 71 members attached to a branch named East China Normal University, Shanghai, New York University Facility and Labor Party branch.
Slow down there, buddy. It's important stuff.
I'm just learning from the best, which is Ben Shapiro. I'm learning how to talk fast.
Gosh.
The database leak comes just days after a number of disturbing revelations involving CCP infiltration of American institutions. Bullet points here. Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe warned that China has targeted members of Congress and poses, quote, the greatest threat to democracy and freedom since World War II. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo warned of China's infiltration of U.S. universities, which are hooked on communist cash, and stifle criticism of Beijing. Media reports identified Representative Eric Swalwell, a member of House Intelligence Committee, as one of several San Francisco politicians courted by Chinese spy Christine Fang, the Fang. It was confirmed last week that Joe Biden's son Hunter is under federal investigation over tax fraud and potential money laundering over his foreign business dealings, including in China. Quote, Communist China has been allowed to infiltrate our universities and corporations with people loyal to only the Communist Party. Former acting director of national intelligence Rick Grenwell said Sunday, quote, our beloved Chinese American community has been warning us about these tactics for many years, and the political class has ignored those warnings. So there you go. This was the big story that dropped with the link to the actual document. Did you download it, Basil? I know you don't like doing that.
No, I didn't download it. But a couple interesting things to note, just for people who might not have the foundational information here. So the CCP, the Communist Party of China, is when they talk about party members, they're talking about 2 million actual party members, operatives, not just Chinese people.
Yes.
So that's important to keep in mind. And on this show, usually when we're talking about things related to China, we're specifically talking about the CCP, not Chinese people as an ethnicity.
Which, by the way, just as context here, I believe I saw a report, and I could be wrong about the exact number, but there's about 1.4 billion Chinese citizens that live in China.
Yeah.
And about 90 million of them are basically the CCP. So
right.
1/3, like the amount that would sum up to close to 1/3 of maybe 1/4 maybe of
it's
American
about
citizens.
less than a tenth.
No. I'm talking about compared to America, compared to the American population.
Right.
It's as if 1/4 or 1/3 of the American population. So that's a lot of people, 90 million, and so this is almost 2 million individuals that have been infiltrating all sorts of companies. So this is not like just a small group of people doing it. This is a big operation. It's not.
Yeah, it's a full sort of the tentacles of the CCP.
Right.
And that's 2 million. And that was in 2016.
Yes.
So, of course, things can change since 2016, grow probably.
Yeah.
Considering. Now, I'm going to jump over to this article from AmericanMilitaryNews.com, which is a military focused outlet that we like to look at once in a while, and they break down the numbers a little bit more. The Australian was the news outlet in Australia that broke this story originally. So it says the Australian described more than 7,000 CCP members identified in just 7 major global companies. You mentioned some of them, but just to go through them again, Volkswagen 5,700. In Boeing, there's 287. AstraZeneca had 54. Pfizer had 69. Qualcomm had 229. Hewlett-Packard 390. HSBC 345. Goes on to describe, and it repeats a couple things you said here, but it was worth mentioning. Boeing and Qualcomm are just 2 companies identified with the U.S. military contracts. Aerospace giant Boeing has billions of dollars worth of contracts with the U.S. military, while Qualcomm manufactures computer chips and other hardware for the U.S. Department of Defense's IT systems, and more. Then, of course, AstraZeneca and Pfizer are 2 major pharmaceutical companies that have been involved in the COVID-19 vaccine and development. So really, when you think about the CCP's reach throughout the world, first of all, as Americans here, it's concerning that, they're building our planes and building our IT software for the, IT hardware for the U.S. Department of Defense. And then, of course, even probably more importantly, AstraZeneca and Pfizer. Yeah. And it goes on to describe, it's interesting how they keep mentioning that none of these CCP members have been identified as spies. So basically what they're saying in this case is that they have their names on a list, but they haven't gathered, they haven't seen or identified these people as passing on any information, which is almost not even worth mentioning, considering that this information was only passed on 3 weeks ago. So, of course, if any of these CCP members are spying, which of course they are, they've had some time to hide their tracks even better than I'm sure they already were. But yeah, this is very concerning. And I still run into some people who don't really understand the China issue. And it's not just some sort of like American patriotic outrage. This is legitimate international intel that the Chinese government has party members, not just citizens, not just Chinese citizens, CCP party members actively in roles pretty much in the biggest companies in the world. There was some talk about some of course, the Fang Fang story, the honeypot that has gotten some U.S. politicians in trouble, not just Swalwell. There's actually a nice handful of them. But this is not just China's our enemy thing. China has had a very methodical and effective campaign to infiltrate the biggest institutions in the world.
Yeah, and part of the issue is these American corporations allowing it to happen. And that's kind of the big betrayal here. It's not just that blame China. It's also blame the Americans that were naive to what was going on and allowed it to happen to the point where it is now. It's almost like too little too late at this point.
I think it's pretty generous calling them naive, but yes.
Yeah, it is, I am being generous, but that's, of course, it ramped up with more personal interests with certain politicians over the years. I'm sure it became even more enticing for some of those that would sell us out to China. But, again, this is actually, when you start looking into this topic of how closely tied China is to U.S. Political figures, especially, it becomes very interesting because there was one point, Code Monkeys on Twitter, who is he used to be the admin or one of the head guys running 8chan, but I think he stopped now. He stepped down from that role, and he's been doing a lot of things with the election fraud stuff, and he basically started sort of putting together lists of politicians that in China, like China would openly report on like, hey, we hung out with, these governors or whatever. And so here's a thread from a few days ago that I'm showing on the screen. And it was on December 7th. Google's now banning this article from showing up in search. And it's basically a Chinese article. Okay, this is a Chinese article. I translated it, a few pieces of it, just to, get it out there. But basically, this says Li Qingmin, Consul General of the People's Republic of China in Houston, paid a courtesy call on Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia. Thank you for your contribution to Georgia. So there's like pictures of this CCP guy and Brian Kemp shaking hands and exchanging gifts or whatever. And so it's like right out in the open, but the U.S. isn't going to necessarily report on this type of thing in the way, in the correct context. Maybe they'll report it. I didn't hear anything about any of this stuff, but in China, they're like super open about it. It's almost like, hey, look at us, totally getting in there. Look at another guy that we have in our pocket, basically.
And the interesting thing is, and this is pretty well known at this point, has been sort of analyzed over a few months. We've mentioned it before, but just to remind people, the CCP's strategy for the most part in the United States has been mostly connected to local governments and small-time politicians, specifically helping them rise through the ranks. So they won't go like directly for a U.S. senator. What they'll do is they'll start with a state senator or a mayor or two or state legislatures of some kind, and they'll get in pretty tight with these small-timers and then participate in their fundraising, take them on little trips and basically wine and dine them to create positive, yes, like Fang Fang, positive affiliations with, Chinese interests at a smaller level, a very small level, but then help those politicians, gain higher office and things like that. So it's really a very patient and methodical plan that they've been pulling off for at least a decade or two.
And it's very fascinating because it's very similar to, you talk about the New World Order and the Illuminati and the generational plans and all this kind of stuff. It's similar. It's like, it's not going to take a year. Yeah. It's going to take 20, 30 years, and we're going to keep at it.
And famously, the CCP, they have their 1,000-year plan. They make plans 1,000 years out, which sounds hyperbolic, but at the rate at which they've pulled off, what they've been pulling off, they really have been thinking about this for a long time.
Well, so did Hitler. He had his Millennium Plan.
That's true. What was I going to mention? Oh, what this does is kind of a little bit of a worrying concept. This is a similar situation that led to the Japanese internment camps in the United States.
Yeah.
It's possible. I mean, if there's, especially if Trump, it sounds like something Trump would pull off. It sounds like a patriotic thing to do. You can't,
sure.
Can't trust any of these CCP members. So,
I live. My parents live next to some Chinese people, and they seem fairly wealthy with the way they flaunt their wealth. So maybe I can be an infiltrator to my neighbor. Start asking questions.
Go get that CCP paycheck, man.
Yeah, or the U.S. paycheck or I'll get
either way. There you go. It'll give the CIA a real reason to get in contact with you.
Yeah, see, I'm starting to get all suspicious because there's a little basketball court in the backyard of my parents' house. So I shoot my ball back there, and sometimes it goes over the fence and goes in their pool, and they throw it back, But then they have a kid that plays golf, and we have my parents have 30, 40 golf balls in our backyard, and they always come wanting to get their golf balls back. And I'm always suspicious, like what are you doing here? What are you looking for, huh? Are you spying on anti-CCP?
That's racist. You can't do that.
I'm allowed to.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I'm pushing it.
Let's see. What do we have next here?
Another big.
You
big
ready
story.
to move on?
Yes. Well, I think it's connected, but
it is all connected here. It's Cyber Week here. This comes from
already gone on the offensive.
That's right. More cyber warfare. Newsweek.com. Alleged Russian SolarWinds hack, probably an 11 on scale of 1 to 10. Cybersecurity expert warns. This was pretty big news recently as well, mainly yesterday and today. Yeah. Cybersecurity expert warned that the alleged Russian hack of SolarWinds. Yeah, right. Notice that. Every time they say Russian, they're going to say alleged Russian. We'll get into that. A cybersecurity expert warned that the alleged Russian hack, keep in mind, it's allegedly Russian, not allegedly a hack.
No, the hack is real, but the who did it is allegedly Russian.
Right. Cybersecurity expert warned that the alleged Russian hack of SolarWinds software, which affected top government agencies, is probably an 11 in terms of seriousness on a scale of 1 to 10. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security warned on Sunday that users of SolarWinds should disconnect or disable the software after it was discovered hackers had compromised an update from the company earlier this year. Unidentified sources told Reuters and the Associated Press that Russian hackers were believed to be behind the cyber attack, which unidentified sources. Great, good journalism. Unidentified sources.
Not even an anonymous source.
Yes, not
anonymous. It's unidentified.
Not for sake of safety, not asked to be kept their identity to be kept secret. They're unidentified sources. Told Reuters and the Associated Press that Russian hackers were believed to be behind the cyber attack, which hit federal government agencies and many of the nation's top companies. Continuing on. It's like, why do we even bother with the Russian thing when it's so obvious that that China is pulling off some pretty grand scale things?
Yeah,
can an unidentified source? Here, I'm an unidentified source. It was China. Quote, it's
wrong anonymous source.
Yeah. It's been, quote, it's been said on a scale of 1 to 10, this is probably an 11 for the type of attack, the magnitude and the potential damage it's done. Cybersecurity analyst Mark Wright, the chief security advisor at California-based cybersecurity startup SentinelOne, told Fox News on Monday morning, quote, not from an infrastructure standpoint, like going after the energy grid or taking things down, but simply from the loss of information, the stealing of secrets, especially very sensitive information, and the fact that this was going on for months. Quote, we have yet to even understand how big the damage assessment will be, but I guarantee you by the time it's done, it will be far worse than what we think it is right now, because we still haven't uncovered all of the people who have been attacked by this campaign. Randy Watkins, the chief technology officer of Texas-based cybersecurity firm Critical Start, said in an email to Newsweek that the goals of hackers can be financial as well as theft and data destruction. Quote, "The primary motivation for cyber attacks are monetary theft and destruction. While many news cycles have covered the more consumer-facing monetary impacts of ransomware, campaigns for the theft and destruction of data are still being heavily waged," Watkins said. The cybersecurity expert added the incoming administration of President-elect Joe Biden, quote, "will have to recognize the growing threat of cyber attacks from prominent world powers and terrorist nations alike." What are terrorist nations? Is that just nations where terrorists are?
Iran.
The new hack, I don't think a nation can be a terrorist, but okay. The new hack has affected... What?
Newsweek.
Yeah. The new hack has affected Treasury Department and Commerce Department emails. Ooh, emails. And SolarWinds software is used by many other federal agencies, including the Pentagon, the White House, and NASA. Reuters reported Monday that the Department of Homeland Security was impacted as well. SolarWinds' website says that more than 425 of the U.S. Fortune 500 companies use its software as well. My gosh, this is worse than CCP infiltration.
By the way, that website, the page that tells you who's all involved, gone. It's gone. But luckily, yes, they took it down. But of course, archive.org saves it. So I have it here. And yes, it says more than 425 of the U.S. Fortune 500 companies are customers. All 10 of the top 10 U.S. telecommunications companies. Oh, wow. All 5 branches of U.S. military. The U.S. Pentagon, State Department, NASA, NSA, Postal Service, NOAA, Department of Justice, and the Office of the President of the United States.
Wow.
All 5 of the top 5 U.S. accounting firms, hundreds of universities and colleges worldwide. And they have a list here of companies. And my goodness, it's like the biggest companies, all the big companies, AT&T, Ameritrade, CBS, Cisco.
It's the foundation of the United States economy.
The Federal Reserve Bank. No worries here, folks. No worries. The Gates Foundation.
Wow.
Harvard University. That keeps going.
Oh my gosh. It's everything.
Kodak.
This is everything.
Lockheed Martin.
Oh boy. Good. Okay, that's just what we need.
If they're using the same the same software for the Skunk Works, they're going to get all the secret, the secret crafts that we have.
Yeah,
McDonald's.
This is brutal.
Nestle, New York Times. No surprise actually there, really. But yeah, there's a lot more here. There's
everything.
Procter & Gamble. I'm just trying to hit the big ones. Sprint, Smart City Networks, Staples, the CDC. The
CDC. The Federal Reserve, the CDC, all 5 branches of the military, all 10 telecommunications companies. It's everything.
Visa, the DOD, Yahoo.
The DOD. They hacked the entire country.
The entire country just got hacked.
Oh my gosh.
This is a huge deal, and I don't think people are realizing what
this is almost a black swan event.
It is. And you know the whole cyber winter or cyber pandemic or whatever, this could be part of it.
Yeah.
Or what is it?
The dark winter.
Well, the dark winter, yeah, but there was also that sub thing with the cyber winter or cyber pandemic that the World Health the World Health Organization came out. You're right.
And said, this is on the scale of what we are told is, it's a COVID-19 level of cyberdemic. Yeah, you could not get a bigger hack than this.
Yeah, and actually, my lovely wife works for a medical supply company, and I asked her this morning. I was like, "Did you hear about the SolarWinds thing?" And she goes, well, "What about SolarWinds?" And I was like, "Do you guys use SolarWinds?" And she said, "Our company went off. We stopped using it a few years ago." And she said, "But everybody uses it." And she's like, "We didn't like them, so So I'm like, "Hey, good job. Our information is probably, or her company's information is probably somewhat safe for now." But this is a big hack by Russia. Really, those Russians.
An unidentified source says it's Russians. It's not Russians. I'm calling it now. It's the CCP.
Yeah.
I do want to mention we are running quite low on live viewers this especially for a Monday. Mondays are usually our biggest live viewer days. We're below 50% of what we would expect right now. I do want to say Bloomy over on YouTube says, I didn't know you guys were live. Even though I've checked the people I'm subscribed to multiple times, I had to search for your channel to find out. So not only are notifications not going out, but it's not even showing up in the subscriber list. So there you go. We also got hit.
Yeah. SolarWinds is not a Chinese company, by the way, just so that.
Oh, well, you wouldn't need to hack it if it was a Chinese company.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me keep going on this.
Finish the article here.
Give more information. The new hack. Wait. Oh, sorry. And we got so excited about
in a Monday update. I think it's
yes. In a Monday updates, that's today. SolarWinds suggested that thousands of clients had potentially been impacted by the vulnerability, which had arisen through an update in the spring. Quote, SolarWinds currently believes the actual number of customers that may have had an installation of the Orion products that contained this vulnerability to be fewer than 18,000.
I like the wording.
Good.
The wording
fewer than 18,000. Oh my God.
It's like saying, this virus is going to affect less than 8 billion people.
Yeah, some PR person really made their daily bread with that sentence. Contain this vulnerability. Don't worry, it was fewer than 18,000. Russia has denied any involvement in the cyber attack, but Moscow's efforts to interfere in government and private systems around the world have been well documented and reported by U.S. and allied intelligence agencies.
Thanks to China.
Except for all the times it's been officially debunked.
Multiple times.
It is typical for Russia or other nations. It is typical for Russia or other nations to deny involvement in such attacks when they are accused. China and Iran have also recently been accused of carrying out cyber attacks against the U.S. Okay, cool, great. Quote, I reject these statements, these accusations once again, Dmitry Peskov, a spokesperson for the Russian President Vladimir Putin, said Monday. Russia's TASS news agency reported. Peskov added, quote, it is wrong to groundlessly blame Russians right away. We have nothing to do with this. I have no reason to defend the Russians in this.
There isn't, but still.
There's no... But it just doesn't feel like the Russians.
It really doesn't.
Feels
there
like
could be some Russians involved in supporting some of the,
there's Russians involved in everything.
Sure, but to blame Putin outright, and I like how they mention China and Iran have been. It's almost like, and your call, and I agree with you that this is actually China doing this, or at least because I think this is a retaliation for our last story. About the leak, about the CCP members.
Right.
So,
it's
ongoing.
That's actually an interesting point. That's a good point, because the CCP list, what day did that actually break?
The CCP thing? Well, it's been kind of a slow drip with the, Fang Fang. And then this story from the New York Times was published.
Specifically the 2 million members.
Yeah, that was published on the 13th, but I think it was the 12th.
Yesterday.
Yeah, I think it was like the 12th or the 11th when stuff came out.
So I mean that's an interesting timeline, because the list of the list of CCP members being installed in companies around the world is a pretty humongous deal. And then 2 days later, an even humongouser deal goes down. And it seems, I don't know, the timing is just very fishy.
It is.
How do you get the news about 2 million CCP members being installed around the world out of the news cycle? Well, you just activate the SolarWinds hack.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it didn't activate it then. It's been going on since spring.
It's been going on,
but they released it.
They released it to the public, and that's the thing here. Both anybody operating any kind of political warfare, and they have their ammunition. It's just when do they fire it? And I think this goes back to Trump and the whole idea that Trump might be behind the whole leak. I know it said it was like a defying.
It was a dissenter. Chinese dissenter.
Chinese dissenter releasing this list of the Chinese Communist Party members. But it seems like it was almost flagged.
Why would Trump? I know. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt. So your theory is that Trump released this?
No.
List?
It's not my theory. But I'm suggesting that it's
proposing.
It's possible that the timing of it. He sort of green flagged it. Like okay, yep, time to go with this thing. It may not have been him per se, but allowing the information to get out there, especially after the Fang thing.
Here's why I don't think that's the case. The list was released to 4 news outlets. None of them were in the United States. It was the Australian, some Swedish thing, a Dutch newspaper, and one others. But it was not it is not a United States outlet. I feel like if Trump was going to pull something like this off, why wouldn't he just send it to one of his friends? Why not the New York Post?
That's a good point. Yeah. But the New York Post did get it, but did they get it after?
Yeah, they didn't get the the list of 2 million CCP members was sent to 4 outlets: the Australian, a Swedish outlet, a Dutch outlet, and one other. I don't have the list right in front of me. But it was not an American outlet.
4D chess, bro.
I just don't see why. I don't see why there would be a reason that I don't even understand the desire to give Trump the credit for it.
Well, it's not giving him credit per se. It's just the fact that this adds to the animosity being built up against China in the United States at a time right now when the election stuff is going on. And it might allow Trump to exercise his executive order about foreign interference and specifically nail China as the main culprit for all of it. It doesn't have to be China. It could be anybody else, but
I just want to give the Chinese dissenter the credit. I mean,
you can give him the credit.
In a world, the dissenter, I'm giving him the credit because that's what's reported by the outlets who received it. First, I mean, I think it's important to not try to conspiracy away the credit from this dissenter, because living in a country now where dissenters may become more and more important, China even more so. I mean, this Chinese guy who got the info and sent it out to foreign outlets to try to expose his, corrupt government's dealings. I mean, that guy took a huge risk. If they know who he is, he's a goner.
So you think that because a lot of the infiltration is worldwide, it's not just the United States, but the United States benefits from this information?
Yeah, everybody benefits. I mean, that there's worldwide. It was a worldwide thing. It's not just against America. These CCP members,
right. But I think
the idea of giving Trump credit for this. Look, if there's any evidence to give credit to Trump for it, I would. But I don't want to give him credit for something he didn't do because he's Trump.
I'm not even bringing it up to give him credit. I'm bringing it up because I think he can use it politically to justify an enemy to go to war. And when you think about it, and this is kind of another point that I wanted to make.
He's not going to go to war with China.
Not like an open scale war like in World War II necessarily, but in terms of some measures that would be justified to take action on his behalf, it's possible. And
of course you will. Of course he'll use it.
And if you think about the elite and how they operate, right? You kind of look behind the shadowy figures that run everything. They thrive on war, right? They've always thrived on warfare. And so right now, the sentiment I see a lot of times on the social medias and all this, especially from Trump supporters, and this is not a criticism of them, but I'm just pointing out the fact that they are very like F China, down with China. And it's really stirring them up to support. It's the same kind of PSYOP that supported, war against the Nazis and Japan and all. It's a similar thing. And so that's kind of why I'm like, oh, this could be, because, never let a good crisis go to waste. This is another one of those situations where, again, I'm not giving Trump credit. I'm saying
that's not even a question. That's not even a question. Of course he's going to use it. You're so hyped up about this. Take it easy. It's okay. Of course Trump is going to use it. Of course it's anti-China, not propaganda, but it will be used as evidence for actions against the CCP.
Right. And this whole story about the hack is just even more fuel to the fire. The other part of this is infrastructure-wise. This could be because we've been looking into the crypto situation and people building Web 3.0, and if there was a peaceful, seamless transition to Web 3.0, people would just do it slowly and naturally, right? As people realize, oh, Google's no good, let me move over to these other things. But it wouldn't be in the best interest of the elite to not have a transition without some kind of conflict. And so this is another reason why I think, releasing all this information, compromising the infrastructure of thousands of people and hundreds of the biggest companies coming out of the US, I think this is also part of the Great Reset and allowing the fall of the current infrastructure to bring in the new infrastructure, and they'll bring along, crypto companies or more, crypto, projects or whatever to sort of build that infrastructure. And it'll be, I think a lot of them will be co-opted in a sense by government, because a lot of the problems or the lack of traction with many of these crypto companies that are like, we want to free the internet, we want to do this, we want to do that. A lot of them are struggling with legislative barriers. But then if government comes by their side and they're like, hey, we'll help you along, then boom, now you have all these, things like Ethereum or Cardano or whoever, they're going to be mainstreamed by the government, allowing the same thing happened with Facebook, CIA coming in, helping out Zuckerberg and, alien man, whatever, and allowing Facebook to become what it is. So this is a very similar tactic, and just got to always think ahead when it comes to exposing things and the destruction of traditional infrastructure. They're doing it for something else. They're always thinking a few steps ahead. And so that's the only reason why I even brought up the Trump thing, because it's not necessarily give Trump credit because he released the information.
No, I hear you. I think of course, you make a correct assessment. Of course, this will be used. I did not think about it in the context of the Great Reset. That's a pretty good point. But yes, of course, this will be used in all anti-China decisions and activity. If Trump stays in office, of course, he's going to love using it. Who knows what Biden will do? Probably nothing. But yeah, no, I just, you were talking about Trump releasing this information. There's no reason to think Trump released the information.
He may have green-lighted it though, that's all I'm saying.
But why would he need to green-light a Chinese dissident to send it to foreign non-American outlets?
I'm only looking at the timeline of things that occurred. And those other countries, are they friendly to the U.S. that were released? The news outlets?
Sweden, Dutch, they're the Australian. Australia is a Five Eyes.
Yeah, so it could be one of those situations where he's like, okay, I can't, because he's not going to be able to release it.
Why in the world? I just don't
I'm just saying. These are hypotheticals. We don't have to argue about it. But
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I just don't think Trump. Maybe I guess he could have had something to do with it if he really wanted to, but I just don't see why Trump even needs to be involved in it.
I'm just picturing him sitting there going, "Release it. Do it now. We got the fang. Bring out the next thing.
Yeah,
go ahead."
I like the story of a Chinese dissident getting,
both things could be true.
Government.
Both things could be true. You never know.
I just don't know why you want Trump to be.
I didn't say I want it to be. I'm just saying that it's.
I know you're acting like it though.
Well, because the only reason why I even say that is because of the timing of everything. If it wasn't, if it didn't happen right now, right after, on the heels of the Fang story, I would be like, I would 100% agree with you. But in the political climate that we're in right now with the U.S., it's just to me, it's kind of like it's too perfect when it came out. So that's all I'm saying.
It was perfect. But it was interesting. I just think it's interesting, if it did come out that way, if we're talking about Trump being involved in the release of information, he would be much more involved in the release of American information regarding the SolarWinds attack. And that came 2 days after the CCP release. So that seems like it would have Trump involved more than anything else.
Yeah.
But that would put him in the seat of, distracting from the CCP release.
Right. Well, we'll just have to see. Well, it's neither here nor there. We're not going to change the outcome of any of this. But I think he's still fighting the whole election fraud thing. Let's see. I'm just going to take a look at his most recent tweet here. Wow, this report shows massive fraud, election changing results. And he linked to Detroit Free Press. Judge orders release of report examining Antrim County vote tabulators.
I'm getting messages here that the Dutch media is not a friend of Trump. So the Dutch media releasing it would not follow the Trump hypothesis.
Okay.
But certainly he will use it. Everybody will use it. Okay, let's see. What other stories do we have here?
We need to take a break. We need to take a break to get into the other stuff because we have a few more things to cover. We have just a real quick Waccine update, a few stories to hit. Maybe not read the whole thing, but there's a Bill Gates clip in there. And then also, we didn't get to the Facebook lawsuit last episode, so we'll hit on that. And then we'll hit on an email that came in about the PCR, and we'll sort of we'll just discuss the email and a possible, not a refute necessarily, but just a conversation about it coming from you and I, the naive people that don't know much about any of this, just sharing information. But anyway, do you want to take a break and then just let's get on with it because I'm running out of time.
Don't you have a hard out?
Yeah,
today?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I got 30 minutes.
We're not going to hit all those things, but we'll hit as much as we can. But first, we're going to take a very quick break.
It's break time.
Come on, take a break, everybody. Okay, but don't go anywhere because like Gon said, after the break, we got some Waccine updates and some Facebook info. Some very important stuff you're going to want to keep up on. But first, we want to take a second and thank some of our producers. And if you're new to the show, I'll be quick here, people. Don't worry. If you're new to the show, we are on the value for value model, which means that you might have noticed we do not do ads. We don't sell any supplements. We don't we don't do a lot of things that would definitely be more profitable if we did. Instead, we are on the value for value model. We have eschewed the shackles of advertising, which, a lot of people don't quite understand why that's such a rebellious act. But with advertising being all up in bed with privacy concerns and big data, not to mention mind control, we just decided that advertising was not the way to go for us. We realized that a lot of podcasts and shows on the internet are just peachy. They feel just fine about advertising to their people. Here's the thing, Gons, both you and I have had experience with the advertising industry. Me a little bit, just a little bit more than you. And it really makes me sick because there's big advertisers throughout the history of advertising, which is not a very long history, where they specifically talk about advertising in the context of mind control. And it's not just to get you to buy a product or something like that. It's to create a worldview in which you think that you need to spend your money. And so any advertising, in my opinion, is participating in a corrupt system of this world that, the global theology of incentivizing creators like Gons and I to think of you, dear listener, as a commodity to be traded, to be packaged up and sold to an advertising agency. And that just doesn't sit well with us. Instead, we give the opportunity for all of us to rebel against that system, to put our own value on the media that we consume. No longer are we letting advertising companies set the value of media that we appreciate and consume on a regular basis. It is now our turn to take responsibility. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. It is a satisfying rebellion against the global theology of advertising and the sort of global economic system. So for those who want to join us in this project, as well as support their favorite podcast, they can become producers of the show with the value for value model. And that's basically, hey, we create some value. If you get any value out of it, you have the opportunity to participate and keep it going and make it better. And it's only because of our producers we're able to continue to do this show so often and so well, might I say. So first of all, the first way you can become a producer is by heading over to patreon.com/Canary Cry News Talk, and that's patreon.com/CCNT. Patreon.com/CCNT. And over there, Gons, we actually have two people to thank. One of them is an upgrade, a producer upgrade from Frode. Thank you very much, producer Frode. Frode. Upgrading producer. It's hard enough to get new producers. It's even more difficult to get producers to upgrade. So thank you very much, Road. Next, we have producer Jesse.
Thank you, producer Jesse.
Thank you very much, producer Jesse. Now, we also do another show called Canary Cry Radio. It's an interview-style show. We do live interviews every Friday right here, wherever you're watching this. And recently, we had a new producer come in over at patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. That's patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And I want to thank our new producer, Sharon.
Thank you, producer Sharon.
Thank you very much, producer Sharon. Now, Guthbrand over on Twitch says, is Patreon better than the website to donate? Well, that's up to you, because we also have canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. And I will say, going through canarycryradio.com/support does take away one of the intermediaries, which is Patreon. So if you want to support us more directly, become a producer, canarycryradio.com/support is the way to do it. We've got PayPal options. You can come in with a monthly producership, which goes a long way to lay down a nice foundation of support for the show every month. Or if commitment is not your thing, you can make a one-time producership in any amount through PayPal. There's also cryptocurrency and other fun ways. There's also some good information about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames over there as well. Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
PayPal, we have a good handful of people today. First off, we have our executive producer of the show, I believe. It's Protecting Bushes.
Is that Bush Protector or Protecting Bushes?
You know, he keeps changing his name. It's morphing into different.
It's fun.
It's like a shape-shifting name there. But producer Protecting Bushes, thank you so much. Next up, we have producer Martin's T. Producer
Martin's T. Thank you very much, producer Martins.
And there's a lot of I don't know, the way he spelled his name there was a lot of characters in there, and I wasn't
fancy
quite
characters.
Yeah, a lot of fancy, commas and slashes and things that I don't understand. Next up, producer Karen W.
Thank you very much, producer Karen.
Producer Karen. And next, producer Gerald W. Thank you, producer
Thank
Gerald.
you very much, producer Gerald.
Appreciate it. Next, producer Laura S.
Thank you very much, producer Laura S.
And lastly, we have producer Mercury Rising.
Thank you very much, producer Mercury Rising.
And they had a note, Isaiah 42:14, and my family say Merry Christmas and God bless you, Basil and Gons, and your families. Well,
thank you very much.
So much for that.
Isaiah 42:14, I believe, is a Twitch user.
Yes.
I do want to mention a quick thing before we move on to the art here. We just got an email from producer Ciara and said that some fellow Canarians, she says, some fellow Canarians and I had a Zoom meetup this past weekend. Yeah, so we got some meetups going on. That's one thing we have not quite started talking about a whole lot, but we've had a lot of Canarians talk about wanting to do meetups. So I don't know, we might have to create some sort of platform or something so Canarians can meet up in real life and protest the lockdown orders.
Or Zoom calls
Zoom calls are fine too.
Yeah.
So cool. Ciara, I see your email. We'll get back to you about that.
And I want to mention producer Aaron W. You will be receiving an email. I did check. You are in knighthood territory, so we'll send out an email to you to get your knighthood name, and we'll knight you on Wednesday, episode 277.
Yay.
So yeah, it's been a while since we've had a knight. Yeah. Zoom is compromised by China, so maybe not Zoom, maybe something else. But anyway, and that's it for the people that have supported the show with their treasure. Thank you so much. You can send us jingles. You can give us your time and talent. Jingles, songs, ISOs. We always appreciate any of those things. Show related, preferably. And as become tradition on our show, we would like to highlight and thank the producers that have sent in artwork.
One art, please.
So far we have, first off, producer Ali came in with this piece shown on the screen. Podcaster creates super soldier powered by 0 point energy. And it's a picture of Basil with his googly eyes all floating everywhere.
Yes, and I've lost my finger to my magnet workstation. Yes. Mentioned that last episode here. Yes, and on my other hand, I've got two magnets crushing my hand. But I am wearing my weightlifting shirt, so that's good.
And the super soldier standing next to you is a good 2 feet taller than you.
Yeah.
So that would make him at least 8 feet tall, right?
I've yet to start working on this super soldier project, but with all that's going on, I might need to come up with my own soon.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Don't go golem on us. Don't create the golem like the alchemists are trying to do. So thank you so much for that, producer Ali. Keep it up. Next up, we have producer Mark. And he, I don't have the note in front of me, but basically he came up with, he's been doing a lot of these, taking some of the topics here and coming up with interesting things with it. One here, I'm in the wrong email. He's the same guy talking about the PCR stuff. He said, I felt inspired by Ali's rendition of Basil Podcasterson to start another art series, episode 1 attached, and it's The Time-Traveling Misadventures of Basil Podcasterson.
Yes, this is fun. Oh, good. Let's see how to best put this into audio form. So this first panel here, we've got Basil Podcasterson visiting the ye old timekeeping shop. And Basil says this, "Come hither, Sir Kitty, let us see what novel wares the watchmaker haseth today." Up on a high shelf at the back of the shop, covered in dust, Basil finds an aged but very intriguing timepiece in sort of a spirally, almost like a Salvador Dali style looking watch. As Basil inspects the watch, his finger accidentally hits one of the dials. A date appears in the face, 10,000 BC. There's a bright flash, and then, "Oh, Sir Kitty, what an evil happenstance has been cast upon us." And then
Chicken-sized T-Rex.
Yes, Basil is riding a T-Rex here, and there's a volcano and some velociraptors. Thank the Lord I learned well during Father Rex's dinosaur language lessons in monk school. So this is the talking dinosaur talking here. A really good spelling of that noise.
Yeah.
Where or when will this odd watch lead Basil and Sir Kitty next? Stay tuned. Very good. Thank you very much. Oopsies. And then there is another...
it's a blank version of the template and header for anybody else who wants to join in on the fun. So if you go to canarycrynewstalk.com, you'll get a blank version of the episode and the heading there, and just a picture of Basil Podcasterson just there.
That's good. Opening it up to the masses, a crowdsourced comic about Basil Podcasterson. Thank you very much. Who is that? Was that producer Mark?
Producer Mark. Yep.
Thank you very much, producer Mark.
Yes, thank you. Next up, we have producer Tom. And producer Tom came in with a piece here that shows, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Producer Tom, let's see. It's, he said it's also on his website, thegreatestpuzzleever.com. It is, it's like a giant with a screen with the all-seeing eye as a head. Yeah. And then a bunch of like zombie-ish creatures,
angry zombie creatures, and they've all got the all-seeing eye sort of glowing on their forehead. I'm gonna go at it myself here with an interpretation. I think maybe that's sort of the mind control, maybe the media mixed with the other control mechanisms of this world, controlling the zombie hordes who are marked by the all-seeing eye.
The media beast emerging from the sea.
Yes.
To control the minds of the masses.
Are you reading that? Did he send a...
No, I'm just giving my own spin on it.
You're just explaining it better. Good job.
Yes, so thank you very much, producer Tom. We appreciate it. Next up, we have one from producer Rianne. And this one is a Flippy arm flipping a burger, and it's captioned, "Hey everybody, it's your favorite disembodied arm here for a Flippy menu update. We are now serving liberal burgers with your choice of freedom fries or the new fan favorite Waccine chips, seasoned with garlic powder and a tasty crunch of mRNA in every bite. Big government's got big taste."
Big government's got big taste.
Really good line.
That's good.
If we see that on a billboard one day, we'll know that they stole it from Rianne.
Big government's got big taste.
Yeah, that's a really...
Very good. Who is that?
Rianne.
Thank you, producer Rianne.
Who said in her note, if it makes us feel any better, everyone pronounces her name like a whiny cat. Rianne. We just triggered her. But thank you. Thank you for that. Great piece of art. And lastly, we got a picture here. It was again, we normally don't like photos, but every once in a while we'll throw it in because it's kind of interesting. But this one was sent in by producer Steven, and he said, chicken waterer of the beast. And it's like a picture of a chicken watering tank. And on the back of it, it's got a little giant logo and the number 666. Well, three sixes. 666. Yeah, we're stepping over each other. Now it sounds like there's 6666666, which is whatever. But yes, very interesting. The chicken of the beast. Uh-oh, I lost Basil. No. Did I lose connection? No, it does not seem like I lost connection. Are you back? Nope. Hold on one second. Let me get Basil back into the mix. He is frozen. Interesting how this happens so often. Okay. He was trying to call me. I was trying to call him. Call again. One more time here. Mark this so I can edit it. Let's see. I guess the chicken beast didn't like us. Try one more time. In the meantime, thank you so much for all the producers here. Really appreciate it. I think Basil wanted to read a note. A quick Rona update from the Netherlands from producer Lloyd. They said, a quick Rona update. I thought you might find it interesting to know what's going on in Sodom. Please note that I'm not a native English speaker. My apologies in advance for grammatical errors. Today, the government announced on the news that the Rona measures of the partial lockdown will become more severe. Okay, so his computer froze. It's falling apart, so he's going to reboot. So I'll read this in the meantime. All the non-essential businesses will be shut down until further notice. Only public facilities like supermarkets, hospitals, and government institutions will stay open. In the beginning of 2021, the Dutch government will start vaccinating people. In the Netherlands, there still is a law that says no one may penetrate your body without your consent, also in the case of vaccination. However, the Dutch news shows announced that some businesses consider not allowing people who are not vaccinated to enter their store, which is very familiar to what we're dealing with here. And then tonight at 7 p.m. Dutch local time, President Rutte will hold a speech to officially announce the new Rona measures and that they will keep us posted. Thank you, producer Lloyd. Appreciate that, to keep us informed about what's going on around the world when it comes to the Rona lockdowns and also the vaccine measures. And a note here. I don't know if this is from the same thing. Okay. It says, Basil, when you stand before the Most High God in judgment, don't you think you will deeply regret not showing the image of God, your face? Please heed my words, brother, and pray on it. We'll have to ask Basil what his take is on that whole situation there of feeling guilty when he stands before God. Is he not going to feel guilty about not ever showing God's image through his face? So very interesting. Thank you so much for all the support, all the producers out there. And for time's sake, oh my goodness, we're so running out of time. Let me go back and end the break here.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
And we have a couple COVID vaccine updates.
A pandemic special.
Waccine.
Vaccine.
This is New Hampshire Union Leader, or unionleader.com. Gov's order makes COVID vaccine registry mandatory. Governor Chris Sununu last week signed an executive order requiring everyone who receives a COVID-19 vaccine to have their immunizations registered with the state. New Hampshire has been the only state without a vaccine registry. A list of who has received which vaccines, though state law directed the Department of Health and Human Services to create the registry years ago, the state only began building the registry this year. So part of this sounds like, hey, pretty sweet to be in New Hampshire. There's no registry or no record of you ever getting a vaccine or not getting a vaccine, but apparently they've been forced into complying with the rest of the country and creating that database. And now the registry is mandatory, which doesn't come as a surprise. Again, I'm more surprised that there was anywhere in this country that didn't have some kind of database keeping track of that stuff. Let's see. Next up real quick here. This is considering the AI.
Artificial intelligence.
And this is TimesNowNews.com. Researchers introduced the first artificial intelligence tool to detect COVID-19 probability. And, this is one of those we wanted to read, but I don't know if we have time to read through everything. Let me do a couple paragraphs here. Washington, a study in the Journal of Medical Internet Research introduced BioCognitive's new AI COVID software that can easily predict the probability of COVID-19 infection. A team of researchers from the University of Vermont and Cedars-Sinai discovered high accuracy in predicting the probability of COVID-19 infection using routine blood tests, which can help hospitals reduce the number of patients referred for scarce PCR testing. Lead author and University of Vermont Assistant Professor Timothy Plante, MD, MHS said, quote, 9 months into this pandemic, we now have a better understanding of how to care for patients with COVID-19, but there's still a big bottleneck in COVID-19 diagnosis with PCR testing. PCR testing is the current standard diagnostic for COVID-19 and requires specific sampling like nasal swabs and specialized laboratory equipment to run. Quote, according to data from over 100 U.S. hospitals, the national average turnaround time for COVID-19 tests ordered in emergency rooms is above 24 hours, far from the targeted 1 hour turnaround. Biocognitive Chief Operating Officer Tanya Kanigan, PhD, said, complete blood count and complete metabolic panels are common laboratory tests ordered by emergency departments and have rapid turnaround time. These tests provide insight into the immune system, electrolytes, kidney, and liver. The researchers were able to train a model that analyzes changes in these routine tests and assigns a probability of the patient being COVID-19 negative with high accuracy. So very interesting that they would use AI to not directly test for COVID-19, but use a probability or other aspects of your blood or blood test to come up with a result of the probability of having COVID-19. And this is, this is another one of those cases where you add a layer of AI into the mix, and you never know how accurate these things can be. And certainly, it all depends on the data in, data out, and the way the information is analyzed. But again, this relying so much on AI is somewhat troubling, if you ask me. Let me see if Basil is back yet. People are saying R.I.P. Basil. Yeah, someone didn't like what he was talking about today. Maybe it was me. Maybe I got my secret agents to shut him down over there. But there you go. This is another troubling aspect of using AI to justify. And again, what happens if the AI starts freaking out and what are the levels of false positives that can come about from a layer of AI? Just to speed things up. And so that's another troubling aspect to this whole situation here. And then lastly, this is, I saw this, Bill Gates. He's out there again talking about the pandy. And let's hear him on CNN. It's a 2-minute clip. Hopefully it gives Basil enough time to log back in.
People in California are right now under brand new stay-at-home orders as hospitals there risk being overwhelmed. There are a lot of governors who oppose bringing back these lockdown orders and forcing businesses to close. What do you think? Do you think more states need to consider taking that kind of drastic action and the kind of drastic action we saw when the pandemic first began, or can there be a more nuanced approach?
Well, certainly mask wearing has essentially no downside. They're not expensive. Bars and restaurants in most of the country will be closed as we go into this wave. And I think, sadly, that's appropriate. Depending on how severe it is, the decision about schools is much more complicated because the benefits are pretty high. The amount of transmission is not the same as in restaurants and bars. So, trade-offs will have to be made. But the next 4 to 6 months really call on us to do our best, because we can see that this will end, and you don't want somebody you love to be the last to die of coronavirus.
When do you think life will fully return to what we thought of as normal back in January? No masks, no social distancing, no other protective measures necessary.
Certainly by the summer.
I like how he takes a sip.
Will be
after the question is asked.
Way closer to normal than we are now.
Normal.
But even through early 2022, unless we help other countries get rid of this disease and we get high vaccination rates in our country, the risk of reintroduction will be there. And of course, the global economy will be slowed down, which hurts America economically in a pretty dramatic way. So we'll have, starting in the summer, about 9 months where a few things like big public gatherings will still be restricted. But, we can see now that somewhere between 12 to 18 months, and we have a chance, if we manage it well, to get back to normal.
Okay. Number one, the signaling of like, oh, you don't want your family member to be the last to die from COVID. That is egregious. That is so disgusting to me. Makes me angry.
We're taking things that are genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein, right into the vein, right into the vein.
And then, my whole thing is, and this is, it's kind of an outplayed thing, but who voted for this guy? Did you vote for this guy? I didn't vote for this guy. Why is this guy the authority on any of this? And he doesn't even share science, really, to lock down anything. And in fact, I think in California, there was a guy who challenged, or I think sued, Mark something. I don't remember his last name, but he's a lawyer. And he sued the county of LA or Los Angeles about the lockdown, specifically pertaining to outdoor dining. And basically, the court gave the county like a couple days to come up with actual scientific evidence. And of course, they didn't. They just pushed it up to the state. And so now Mark Garagos, I think is his name, now he has to do the whole thing again, run it through court, and sue the state. And so this is pretty ridiculous. There's no science to support the idea of shutting down things is actually stopping the spread of something that has a 99.97% survival rate or whatever. It's ridiculous. And this is a weaponization of science in general, but then also something that's just as bad as the flu, maybe, and making it politicized and the scientific dictatorship showing its head. It's quite egregious. I really, despise this whole situation here with Bill Gates getting out in front of people and pretending like he's the expert in all of this. He's not even a doctor, but we've gone through all of these, criticisms of Bill Gates before. The Bill Gates of hell. So I'm not going to really talk about it too much other than that. Let's see. Where's Basil? Let me check on him. How you doing, bro? We'll see if he's able to come back here. Let me just keep moving on here. This next one is concerning this is thehill.com. Facebook faces most serious breakup threat yet from lawsuits. Briefly here. Oh, did he say something? Call me in. All right, let's see. We can bring Basil back in here. Are you back?
I'm back.
Give me your visual. There you are.
I did.
There you are. You're back.
I made it. Wow, that was catastrophic.
Yeah, your camera probably moved too because you're not in the same spot, but I fixed you.
It did. It was a big disaster.
Yeah. We kind of moved on without you.
That's fine.
But
did you do birthday?
Oh, I didn't do birthday.
Oh, buddy.
Oh, I missed it. It's okay. Let me do birthday.
Let's do it real quick.
Sure. This is. Where's my birthday jingle? Oh no. Oh, here it is.
It's my birthday. Happy birthday to me.
Yay! Yes, quick birthday. And if you have a birthday near coming up, let us know. Send us an email. It was just by chance I happened to see that $signs in the Twitch chat mentioned that it was his birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, $signs.
Happy birthday, $signs. And then I read the note from producer Lloyd, and I did want to know, Basil, when you stand before the Most High God in judgment.
No, that wasn't. Yeah. See, that's why I need to be here. That wasn't from Lloyd.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, who was it from?
No. That was from somebody in the chat, and I put it there because I wanted to respond to it, but it was so long ago it doesn't matter. But yeah, it was funny.
Well, you can respond to it now. What are you going to say?
I don't even know if they're still here. It was somebody in the YouTube chat.
Okay.
Anyway, move your cursor. Your thingy is blocking. I can't read it.
Oh, sorry.
Here. Yes, Basil, when you stand before the Most High God in judgment, don't you think you will deeply regret not showing the image of God? Please heed my words, brother, and pray
your face. On it. Image of God, meaning your face.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to regret it. Thanks, though. Thanks for caring.
Okay, well, we went through all the stuff there. The only thing we haven't gone through is that I was just about to read the Facebook lawsuit breaking up. We don't have to read through it. I'm running out of time. I'm really short on time.
Yeah.
So
I know. This was perfect timing for our short time disaster.
yeah. So basically, the government is looking at breaking up Facebook and other big tech companies. I don't know if it's going to actually happen. It'd be very difficult for it to happen. But there's a compromise and a hack that takes out all this information. I mean, they could restructure some things, but again, I go back to the idea.
It's really a free-for-all. Considering this SolarWinds hack, who knows what's going to happen? This is the biggest black swan thing since COVID, and it could really change the whole online landscape. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And it's going to take a little bit of time before we fully see the effects of how the SolarWinds, manages to affect one thing or another. Although I am seeing how President-elect Joe Biden solidifies his victory by clearing 270 votes threshold in electoral college count right now. So we'll see if...
say that again?
Joe Biden being confirmed.
Yes.
By clearing 270 vote electoral college count. So this is...
it's happening right now.
That's what, according to...
Oh my gosh.
PBS and CBS and all that stuff. So we'll... cementing Joe Biden's victory according to the Electoral College. So
we'll see.
There you go. Now,
okay.
We'll see if Trump might bust out his EO, Captain EO.
That is kind of the last his last option coming up here. Not a lot of luck with the SCOTUS stuff. So. Did we talk about Waccine stuff? Are we saving that?
I went through everything already.
Oh, we're done. Okay, we did it. I got back just in time.
Well, we did. I did want to go through this email. Do you want to save that for next episode from producer Mark?
Yeah, we're short on time. I do want to go through that from producer Mark.
Okay, we'll do it next episode.
And we'll do it next episode.
Okay. So,
okay,
we're done.
There you go. Thank you, producer Mark, for your email. We always appreciate it. So there we go. Yeah, I guess we'll end the show, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Now, here's the thing. We will be back on Wednesday, December 16th, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure to put it on your calendar. Turn on notifications, although you might just have to put it on your calendar because apparently notifications rarely go out. But there you go. December 16th, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, remember to follow us on the RSS feed with a podcast player of your choice. Just search Canary Cry News Talk. We put up each episode after the live broadcast, but it has significantly better audio quality, probably with the exception of this episode because my computer crashed. I have no idea if that file saved. But either way, we'll talk to you on Wednesday. Now, here's the thing. We will still be on the value for value model on Wednesday, so we're going to need some producers for that show. That will be episode number 277. There's something there. And so if you've been thinking about becoming a producer of the show, or if you get any value out of the show, or, just pray about it. See if, the Lord wants you to support the show. Get involved in one way or another. We cannot continue to do the show without the support of our producers. It's kind of the whole thing. So thank you to our producers of episode 276. That was Frode, Jesse, Sharon, Protecting Bushes, Martins, Karen, Gerald, Laura, Mercury Rising, and of course our artists, Allie, Mark, Tom, Rianne, and Steven. Thank you guys so much, and we look forward to the Wednesday's show. Now, here's the thing. You can also help the show out by sending in art or jingles or songs. We got the Canary Cry mixtape that plays at the end of the show here. And so no matter what your creative ability is, there is a place for you. So you can send all that stuff to canarycryradio@gmail.com. You can also let us know if it's your birthday there. We'll give you a little birthday shout out. Okie dokie. I haven't plugged the Canary Cry community recently, and I figured I should do that. So if you're looking for a place, I mean, the Facebook problems just keep getting darker and deeper. So if you're looking for a place to fellowship and connect with other Canarians just like you, head to canarycry.community. That's a real URL. Go there. It's a little old school. It's not quite like a Facebook, but it's even better. It's kind of more of a forum. It's like a forum mixed with a social media. So you should definitely do that. Great place to fellowship and connect with other Canarians. You can talk about different current events or theories, or you can get involved with the Canary Cry Gamers Guild. There's the Canary Cry Foodies. There's something there for everybody. And, you know, in these days, it's more important than ever to connect with people where, you know, you're not going to get in trouble by saying something wacky. You know, everybody's being themselves over there. It's a really good time. And if you're looking for someone to talk to or get feedback on something, that's a good place to do it too. Now, there's also the Canary Cry merch perch.
Oh, that's a jingle.
Jingle.
I was not ready for that at all.
No kidding. Well, you can head to Canary Cry Merch Perch, where it's a family-run operation there. Producer Dust has taken that project on, and it's a place where you can get your Canary Cry merch. It's all sorts of fun designs there. Lots of them stem from the art that has been on the show before. There's the Canary Swole Radio workout tank top. Oh, that reminds me of an email we have to get back to. But go there. Everything's sold at cost to try to keep the costs down for our dearest Canarians there. But you do get the opportunity to tip the webmaster, tip the artist, or you can tip Gons and I. So we're really proud that we have producers picking up all of these Canary Cry projects, and producer Dust, thank you very much. Now, if you want to help out the show in other ways, you can go ahead and share it. Share it on your social, or just go ahead and send it to somebody who you think might appreciate it. We will also be reading ratings and reviews on Friday. So if you haven't left a rating and review, check us out on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. You know, that's leaving 5 stars and telling people how awesome the podcast is. Very important. But like I was saying, you can share the show with people in your life who are starting to wake up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. Not just, you know, vaccine related, not just election related, but really a full-scale view at all the things going on in the world with a biblical worldview, biblical lens. Very important. You know, a lot of people don't have that type of program that they can tune into. So go ahead and do that. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You grab them by the cage and you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, folks. Thanks again, Gons. You got any last words?
No. Thank you guys for tuning in, and appreciate all of your producers and everybody listening, watching. It's very cool that you guys are always here. It's very touching.
It's a good time. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Remember, we'll be back on Wednesday, the 16th. But until then, remember to think outside the cage.
Demonic power!
Aliens. 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 It's gotta be biblical.
We will launch a new age!
I'll keep you warm and safe, and my people too.
Now is the time to do what you're told. Science is truth.
Where are the aliens?
He's a Satanist!
Called it.
Canaries in a cage.
Aliens. Aliens.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Bye, gold. Bye!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone! I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I get I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Fun fact, I believe it was another fun fact. Fun fact. Another fun fact.
Brings me back to my Screamo days.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
From the can. Do pot, that's where I started.
Light up a huge blunt.
A joint.
Give everybody
Magic
mushrooms. Smoke. The CIA, I mean, lots of intelligence agencies have tested secretly dosing communities. LSD.
Psychoactive pills should be covertly administered. Just put me on some, I don't know.
Give you a shot in the butt.
Fluoride, oxytocin, get a chemical hug.
I did dabble, some of that robot crack. I know what it's like.
It's a lethal recipe for disaster. You need help.
If you're a pharmacist, you need to repent.
All right, weird.
Get ready.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
People, I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.